Amen. Blessing and glory and wisdom and thanksgiving and honor and power and might be unto our God forever and ever. Amen. So there's one of those retunings by circular fifths between 5 and 12 in the attributes of Jesus. I'm sorry. I want to get there.
Right. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's fine. One of the one interesting thing there is it's not just again I'm not connecting this with music at all, but there's one word that's different, and that is in the first place wealth is mentioned, in the second place thanks is mentioned. All the other words are the same, in a different order, which may also be significant, but mostly I just think it's interesting that it's sort of like wealth is being responded to with thanks. Wealth in the first place is being replaced by thanks in the second. It's kind of significant. And I think that if I were going to stretch that and apply it to the arts, music, or visual, that the arts ought to be rich in the first place. Otherwise, the result isn't going to be genuine either.
Eric has answered, noting that wealth and riches, wealth and thanksgiving are the words different in Revelation 5:12 and Revelation 7:12, and that art should be rich. And he said it much better than I did.
Like artists should be rich.
Here, here.
Should we go to practicing for next week?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Now, what we would do, we would introduce day 9, which is Ascension, I'm claiming.
Okay.
Which we've kind of introduced there, but I have something from Deacon Gonzalez, who's written up information about the offerings of the Old Covenant, where he has some very wonderful stuff about Ascension, which I'll pass out. But generally what happens is, I've decided that it would be good probably to have one of these one question fits all, both to and from day 9, which is how does this affect my heart and my tone, maturationally, and vice versa. And then basically what we have for next week, we have actually a form of how you ask, how you initiate, and it's a good thing. And what I think we might do is just send stuff, as Sarah said, she would take care of arranging things. If we could send our initiations in by a certain time, and then be ready with our answers by a certain time. And you might want to explain, Elder Rorta, what we are transitioning from and to in the sequence. In other words, we went from priest to king this week. Next week we go from king to prophet.
Okay.
We're very flexible. And I would think Eric would be a good man to be day 9, and then Tiffany can be day 10. You have one? You have one? I have one.
Okay. All right, get my juices flowing here, Chuck.
Okay, now.
From king, we went from priest to king. Priest being you do what you're told.
Yeah.
So in the Levitical order, God says, cut up the animals, do it this way, lay them out, go bring it from the north, check these things. It's a whole list of things that you do.
Yeah.
That's what a priest does. What does a king do?
Well, a king, the first thing, the kings were all supposed to write out the Bible in their own hand. But the first test that came to Solomon was nothing that had been specifically mentioned in the law. That was two women and one babe. And so he had to take the essence or the spirit of the law and apply it in wisdom. But basically a king is a military commander who has to decide who he sends on a suicide mission for the better good. King is one who kills and makes alive.
Mm-hmm.
So that's king.
And we're moving from king then to prophet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And the other sequences, for instance, let me just give you an example of the other
Okay.
sequences, which I conflate these sequences because God gives us these sequences, He wants us to compare them. And we've got ox, lion, eagle, man.
And those are the strongest of the kingdoms. Those are the kings of the kingdoms, right? The ox is the strongest of the domestic beasts.
That makes sense.
The lion is the ruler of the wild beasts. The eagle is the ruler of the air, and man is the ruler of all.
Then you have law, lyric, evaluation, fact from Jordan. You've got imperative, subjective, narrative, and objective from Clint Gardner and Rosenstock Hussey. You've got the other things that Deacon Gonzalez has put on there. You've got the sequence of worship, which we have 4. We have 5 in our worship, but you can put
Right.
some together. You have the 5-point covenant model: transcendence, hierarchy, ethics, oaths and sanctions, succession,
Right.
that kind of a thing. And so you can pick any of those, and you can pick from different parts of the Bible because, as Deacon Gonzalez has put together those 4 testaments, then we have the first is through Joshua, I think, and then you have another section. So you can ask a question, as somebody did, about how did motherhood change from "for this cause you leave your father and mother"
Okay.
to Naomi getting
Okay.
somebody's
So
child.
we are asking with primary reference then to which? To the kingly period or to the
It comes
prophetic?
from the kingly in such a way as to transition you to the prophet.
Okay.
Are you following this?
This week
Yeah.
or the next week?
Next week you are a king, or you've been transitioned into kingly. Now you want to get to transition into prophet.
So the questions will be coming up with this following week. That's what they're going to be about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And is that the only qualitative difference between those questions and... These questions that we just
The
asked?
next question is the order. I changed the order.
Okay, well, the order's different, but it's the same kind of questions.
And we should be maturing more, you see.
Right. And also, we haven't talked about the solo much. At least.
No, the solo, yeah. That's
And
right.
you have an example of a solo that you
I have
you
all
have a
solos.
10-word solo in
Basically,
here.
10 words is I'm Elder Rorda, day 8. My heart is church mission, and my tone is what is time in history. So you have 10 words. The next you get 70 words. Add 70 more words. We're basically more complicated, more maturational.
And we're soloing because we need to learn to speak.
Yeah,
We need to learn to speak the way the Bible teaches
That's
us
right.
to speak.
and we're doing that in several ways: by initiating and responding.
And,
By
and our
collecting.
solos, are we trying to synthesize all the questions we've been asked? Is that what we're doing?
Everything, bringing everything together.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's basically, you have your calling, and eventually you want to have the Lord say, "Well done, good and faithful servant."
So at the end, we may have a solo that says something about, well, I've learned that my calling as father. These are some things I've learned about my calling as father.
Here's the big thing about your solo. Your solo is a summational thing such that you are creating new eras. It is true speech. It is, you go from imperative to subjective to narrative to objective, and then the objective